What's up, everyone? Hello. This is Miguel from Miguel Lebron Coaching. I am the host of the Strategy Rewind podcast, a podcast that focuses on the mindset and strategy necessary for a breakthrough moment. I'm so happy that you could be connected here today. Some of you may be listening through the Strategy Rewind podcast. Others may be connecting on the Wisdom app. For those who are listening on the Strategy Rewind podcast, please consider downloading the Wisdom app as it allows you to be part of the conversation. And for those of you who are entering the room here on Wisdom, please feel free to chime in at any given moment, be a part of the conversation. If there's anything that catches your attention or speaks to you directly, I want to talk about what to do when you accomplish a goal. I think there is a dilemma that is taking place, an issue that we need to address, an elephant in the room, if you will. And I think we need to address that. And so I want this conversation to be specifically on that quote unquote elephant in the room. Oftentimes we talk about setting forth goals and having plans and having dreams and aspirations. And these are all great things, and we all have them, regardless of where you are in your journey. You've heard me say before that strategy is a defined number of steps to help you obtain a breakthrough moment. In fact, in that I say that we need to be cognizant of how many steps we are away from the breakthrough moment. That is, you may be 10 steps away from your breakthrough, and I may be 2 steps away, or I may be 20 and you may be 2 steps away. So when we talk about planning and putting forth a strategy to accomplish our goals, what we don't want to do is fall in the habit of comparing ourselves and think, well, this is what worked for them, it'll work for me. We don't want to enter into that situation because comparison actually creates limitation. But there's another issue. I think we understand comparison creates limitation. I think we have that understood. I don't think anybody, rather you're listening on the Strategy Rewind podcast, rather you're listening on the Wisdom app and you're jumping on right now, I don't think anyone here would say, Miguel, you're wrong when I say comparison creates limitations. I think we all understand that. When you compare yourself to someone else, you blind yourself from the abilities, the gifts, the talents that you have, what makes you you. You know, the probability of you being born on the day you were born, in the place you were born, by the parents that you had, by all of these elements, the chance that that would happen, it is a 1 in 400 trillion. Listen to these odds. 1 in 400 trillion. It's like putting a penny on the shell of a turtle, letting the turtle go into the ocean, and that you would be the only one who sees the turtle come out of the ocean with the penny still on their shell. As you're listening to that, you're like, what? Wait a minute. What, what is that? Yeah, those are the odds that you would be born in the place you were born, at the time you were born, on the day you were born, in the hospital that you were born, with the parents you were born, with your specific DNA, gifts, talents, all of the ingredients that make you you. So comparison limits you because it blinds you from being able to see the gifts, talents, and the ability that you have. If you're so accustomed and so used to seeing somebody else and I wish I could do that. I wish I had what they had. I wish this. You're not going to see the greatness that you possess. You're always just going to be seeing someone else ahead of you. So I don't think anyone here, I don't think this is a debate. I think I might be preaching to the choir on that part, but I want to put that there. I want to bring that as part of the conversation because while there is no debate on that, there seems to be a debate on the following statement. When you establish a goal, should you A, be quiet and not tell anyone, or should you B, tell people? And I think there's a debate on this. I think this is cause for a conversation. Should you, when establishing a goal, A, be quiet, don't tell anybody, or B, tell people? And I suppose the appropriate answer is somewhere in the middle. And I think the appropriate answer looks something like this. If you have established a goal or you have a plan of something you want to do, tell the people that will help you accomplish it or will encourage you in your journey. But beware of those people that try to belittle your dream or try to derail you from accomplishing it, right? And so there's this balance that has to happen. Whereas, like, if you have a dream, if you have a goal, if you have something you want to accomplish, should you tell people? Yes, but you better be careful who you tell, right? Because if you tell the wrong person, and that really is all it takes one wrong person for you to tell somebody, uncle, aunt, sometimes it's your parent, sibling, a significant other, any individual. If you tell one person, hey, I want to accomplish XYZ, right? Fill in the blank. I want to accomplish fill in the blank. And they turn around and say, hey, you ain't never going to do that. Who do you think you are? You're not smart enough. You're not strong enough. Who do you think you are? You think you're better than this place? You think you're better than where you are? You think you're better than. It takes one person with that attitude for someone to question, you're right. Who do I think I am to think this way? And it takes one person with that negative idea, with that negative attitude to make someone really and genuinely question, how dare they have a dream? So is it a matter of when you have a goal that you should tell nobody? No, I don't agree with that. I think you should tell someone. You should tell the people who matter. But I also think we give voice to the voiceless when we share our story. So let me bring this more into context, or at least make it more practical for you. I'm on a personal journey to try to better my personal health. And so here's what the month of January has looked like so far. I usually don't date podcast episodes because I want them to be evergreen, meaning I want it to be that if you pick it up in December, it's still valuable and you don't even know if it happened yesterday or if you picked it up on the day of. But for the sake of this conversation, I want to date today's episode. This is January 29th. It's Sunday, January 29th. The year is 2023. So here's why I'm saying that. If you're following me on Wisdom and or listening to the Strategy Rewind podcast, you know that I have said that I have a goal for February. February, I want to go live every day for 30 minutes on the Wisdom application. And that particular conversation will then become the episode for Strategy Rewind. So I'm going to go live every day on the Wisdom application once a day for 30 minutes. Where this matters is, well, there's content for the podcast, sure, okay, but where this really matters is like on a day to day. And why am I going live? Why am I doing it? Well, I'm doing it because I'm trying to build the habit of having to take the time. Also, having to take the time to do this type of conversation that I'm having with you all here on the Wisdom app requires me to have conversation with my wife. As a father, as a husband, it's not something that I could just walk away and be like, hey, I'll see you in the next 30, 45 minutes. No, I have to have direct conversation with my wife and say, hey, here's what I'm working on. Right. And so when I say this is the goal for February, go once a day, live every day for 30 minutes in the Wisdom app, and that will become part of the podcast episode. But that's a conversation I'm having with you all here on the Wisdom app. That goal, in order for me to accomplish that, I have to talk to my wife. And so this idea that if you have a goal, don't tell nobody. Well, there are people you have to tell. You have to have a conversation with them. You have to be able to say, hey, here's what I'm working on. Here are the steps I'm doing leading up to that. And here's what it looks like in the moment. Like, this is the plan. The plan is, and I'm using myself as an example because I want you to see the practical nature in this. I really am a believer of practical goals lead to a radical life. And so oftentimes we set these goals and we make it much more difficult than what it is. And today we're talking about what to do when you accomplish a goal, right? But here's the thing. In order for you to accomplish the goal, you have to have practical steps. That is, Look at your habits. So if my goal is that in the month of February, I want to go live every single day for 30 minutes a day, then I have to first begin to develop the muscle of doing that, begin to develop the habit. It's 28 days in the month of February. If I'm going live every single day, it would make sense for me to start now, so that now I create the habit and February 1st rolls around, I can follow through all the way. It would also make sense for me to have a conversation with my wife so that she would know. Understand what we're talking about here. Accomplishing your goals, the two options that you have is A, tell nobody, or B, tell somebody. And I'm saying tell somebody you're going to go for a goal. In fact, what happens sometimes is, and it's almost a double edged sword, because if you tell somebody, it almost creates this accountability where you're saying, I have to do it because I told this person I was going to do it. It forces that level of accountability. Of course, the other side of that is if that person praises you for doing something that you plan, or rather for even having the plan, right? You haven't even done it yet. You just have the plan. And that person praises you for even having the plan. What happens is that oftentimes you may feel like, well, I already got the praise. I'm good to go. And so some people don't share their plans because of, if I get the praise right now, then I'm not going to do it. That's a built in habit. You still have to commit yourself to yourself. You got to commit yourself to yourself. Like, commit yourself to be the best version you can be. That's not a commitment. I'm as a married man, the commitment of Miguel being the best version Miguel can be has zero to do with my daughters, zero to do with my wife, although they'll receive benefit from it. If I don't want to be better for me, then what's going on here? What's happening? I have to want to be better. Right. And so I have to want to be the best version that I can be, because by me setting up that goal and being clear on this, that I want to be the best version for me, it actually, again, they'll reap the benefits. So there's a level of planning, a level of conversation that needs to happen. One, who are the people that you have to converse with? And two, decipher those who you don't need to converse with. Also, side note, if they're not worthy to be in the conversation of the goals you're setting, why are they worthy to be your friends? I don't know. Hey, you're connected here on the Wisdom app. First of all, let me say thank you. Secondly, feel free to hit that button. Jump in on the conversation. Let me know. Are there people that you've shared your goals with that you're like, man, had I not shared it with them, I probably wouldn't have gone all the way through? And at the other side, I guess, is also the question of, are there goals that you shared with people that you're like, I wish I would have never shared it with them? I think really it's a matter of surrounding yourself with people that will nourish your vision. But you have to be responsible by deciphering, okay, who's the person that nourishes my vision? If it's a cousin of mine that doesn't do it, then hey, I love you, you my cousin, but I can't have you in this part of my life. I can't bring you into this. We're talking a lot here about setting up for the goals and kind of keeping the rhythm, right? Keeping the pace, having the momentum, and who you tell. And that may not seem like it has anything to do with accomplishing the goal, but it does, not just because of the beginning of it. But here's the bigger situation, and really what I want to talk about today, and the heart of what's inspired me to come on here and talk to you today. Because if you're looking at the title and you're joining in on Wisdom, you're seeing that the title is Finish Louder. What do you do when when accomplishing a goal, right? That's the title here if you're listening and you're connecting here on Wisdom, which, by the way, feel free to smash that button and join the conversation. But here's the thing. We often fall in the situation where we don't tell anyone our goals, because if I tell someone, they might laugh at me, or they may not get it, or they might discourage me. Or if I tell someone my idea, they might copy me, or they might try to do what I'm doing, and then I won't even do it. Or if I try to do it, it'll look like I'm copying them, and I don't want to look like I'm copying them, right? So we don't tell anyone our plans. We don't tell anyone our ideas. We don't tell anyone our goals. And then the other side of that is we actually accomplished the goal. And so we think, you see, I didn't tell anyone and I accomplished the goal. Fantastic, no problem. But then you tiptoe across the finish line. You tiptoe across the finish line as though not to make a noise, as though not to let anyone know that you have finished, that you completed the task, that you went ahead, set a goal, and made it on the other side, that you did it. You had your breakthrough moment. And what I'm saying here today is, hey, if you're not going to tell anyone about your goals, fine. But please do me a favor, finish louder. When you make it past the finish line, when you accomplish your goal, I dare you to scream it from the mountaintop. I did it. Celebrate that. Stop acting as though the person you are becoming isn't better. Because if it is better, acknowledge that. Say it. Finish louder. And this is what I'm saying. We are so scared to tell anyone our plans because we don't want them to copy us, to belittle us, to ridicule us, to doubt us, or whatever, throw shade on us. Okay, so you don't tell anyone your plans, but then you also don't tell anyone when you finish? Why are you tiptoeing around? You're not a flamingo. Like, what's going on here? Stop tiptoeing around. Playing small doesn't help you. Playing small doesn't help your purpose. Playing small doesn't help the power that is within you. So I am challenging you here today, regardless if you're listening on the Wisdom app or the Strategy Rewind podcast or any other platform, I'm challenging you. Finish louder. That as you begin to hit the checkpoints in your life, that as you begin to hit the goals you intended, as you hit the target, I mean, I dare you to tell somebody, hey, did you know 6 months ago I had this idea and I did it, I made it? But here comes the problem. The problem is that how many people you know only talk about their success when they actually reach success. Think about this. Everybody talks about success. Everybody talks about a breakthrough when they have accomplished the breakthrough. It's only few people that in the mud will tell you, you know what, man, I'm struggling right now, but here's the goal and ain't nothing shaking me from it. And those are the people that we're like, ooh, okay, I'm buying in. I want to see this person win. We love the underdog story. We love the underdog story, but we don't want to come across as the underdog. We don't want to come across as the underdog. So I would challenge you because your story, when you share it, it gives voice to the voiceless. And so if you dare to share your story and tell people, hey, you know what, right now, I don't feel so good, but I'm working it. I'm trying to be the better version that I could be. I'm trying to eat better. I'm trying to read more. I'm trying to gain more knowledge, gain more understanding, get more in tune with me, love me, embrace me. I'm trying to embrace others. I'm trying to forgive. I'm trying to leave bitterness behind. I'm trying to get better financially. Like if you're working in these areas of your life, you should aspire to be the person that actually shares that. Because again, people that are in the mud, and when I say that are in the mud, I'm talking about people that are working. I remember my stepfather used to work construction, and when he would come home, he would be muddy, and and I had the chance to work construction early on as well. And I had a friend of mine who he would sometimes give me a ride. We would work in the same site, and he would say, "You can't get in my car muddy. You can't get in my car muddy." So he had this rule. He was like, "Before you get in my car, you gotta dust yourself off, clean yourself." He was like, "If you could bring an extra pair of clothes, bring an extra pair of clothes, but don't get in my car muddy." Because whenever we would leave that site of the construction site, we were muddy. It didn't matter. It just was what it was. It came with the territory. But many of us, we wore it as a badge of honor. It was like, yo, it just means that I'm working. That I'm not coming out of here clean. In fact, there were some people that were ridiculed because of how you come in a construction site and walk away clean. You must not be in the mud. You must not be working. So when I use that term of if you're in the mud, what I'm saying is if you're doing the work, you're doing the work, if you know you're working to become a better person and you're working towards your goals, you have two options. Option number one, you can do it in secret. I want to share with you here what I think are the pitfalls of trying to accomplish your goal in secrecy. If you establish a goal and you tell nobody, right? You write it down on your notebook, you have a plan, maybe you have daily affirmations, you set that strategy up, but you tell nobody. What happens is that when you wake up in the morning and you're dedicated and you're moving and you are saying, man, look, I'm actually waking up, I'm actually doing what I said I was going to do, that's going to encourage you and it's going to create momentum. But in those days when you don't feel so good, in the days where you're like, man, I'm working and working and working and I don't see nothing, man, I'm doing this and I don't see no outcome, man, I don't know if anybody sees the change. In those moments where it seems like I don't even know if I should keep going, it's in those moments that if you have shared your vision and your intention with people, those people will encourage you to keep going. If you're honest enough to say, hey, man, right now I'm working, I'm in the mud, I'm doing the work, but I feel like nothing is happening, nothing is clicking for me yet. Those people around you will actually build you up and say, keep going, keep working, keep it moving, don't stop, don't quit. But if you're doing it by yourself, who's going to be there to lift you up? The danger is that you can get caught up in the echoes. You can get lost in the echoes. What does this mean? This means that in the moment where you're by yourself, if all you're thinking is negativity, the voices that you're hear are negative voices. And it's not coming from anyone else. It's just echoes of your own voice. Think about going into a cave. When you go into a cave and you scream, you go, ah, and you hear the ah, right? You hear that echo. And oftentimes in our journey, we find ourselves in a position where all we hear is the echoes of our own voice. But why is this? It's often because we've taken the decision to journey by ourselves. And what I would encourage you is that if you have a goal, if you have a target that you're aiming at, I challenge you to tell somebody. And I'm not telling you to tell everyone your business because, as I said in the beginning, we gotta have to decipher who are the people that I want to tell this to. People that are going to nourish my vision, not people that are going to break me down. But then I would ask the question, if these are people that are always shooting down your vision and always shooting down your potential, why do you have them in your circle anyways? Why would I want toxic people around me? Why would I want negative people around me? So the idea would be that I fill my circle, that I fill my contact list, that I fill my life with people that understand the possibility of dreaming big and working hard. So that when I say, hey, here's my goal, that they not look at me and be like, man, you crazy, but rather they would say, yeah, you could do that. That's possible. You could do that. Go for it, man. And maybe they'll even say, hey, I'm gonna ride with you. I was thinking about the same thing, as opposed to going at it by yourself. So again, I'm not saying tell it to everyone, be specific to who you're going to tell it to, create that community, work towards your goal. But even when you cross the finish line, finish louder. Tell everybody. Not in a way of being boastful, not in a way of rubbing it in, not in a way of I told you so. We don't do it for that. We don't that if that's your drive, if that's your motivation, I want you to know you have the wrong perspective. That ain't it. If you're working only to say that I told you so, you'll be able to say that I told you so and still feel empty. That can't be your driving force. So when I say finish louder, what I'm saying is that when you cross the finish line, when you hit your target, when you have your breakthrough moment, when you understand you have accomplished your goal, tell people, here's what I did, here's what I accomplished, here's the way I did it, here's the why I did it. You share that story with people. Why? So that those who are around you can actually celebrate with you. can celebrate with you at that moment that you did it, but they can also be encouraged that they too can do it. And even those who hear the story, what happens is that your story gives voice to the voiceless. So, what do you do when accomplishing a goal? You finish louder. Don't tiptoe across the finish line. Don't tiptoe across the finish line, scared that you may wake up the giants or you may wake up the dragons that lie on the other side of your treasure. Because every journey is going to have treasure, and every journey is going to have dragons. Every journey is going to have treasures, and every journey is going to have giants. And if you're tiptoeing across the finish line only to not try to disturb the giants or dragons, you're also not going to be the one who gets the treasure. I'm so excited to be able to have this conversation with you all today. If you're on the Wisdom application and you want to chime in, feel free to do so. If you're listening on the Strategy Rewind podcast, I'm going to encourage you to download the Wisdom app, hit the follow, and be part of the conversation. Of course, as I mentioned, the conversations we have on the Wisdom app turns into a podcast, and that conversation is going to help more people, enlighten more people, strengthen more people on their journey. If you're here on the Wisdom app and you haven't heard of the Strategy Rewind podcast, well, it's a podcast that focuses on the mindset and strategy necessary for a breakthrough moment. So please consider checking out the podcast, subscribe, rate, review, do all those awesome things, because all of that helps in creating further awareness of the podcast, and it creates further awareness of this message. And I'm really focused on one word, and that one word is legacy. Legacy. How will you be remembered when you have left the room? And how will you be remembered when you have left this earth? This is what you have to think about. And one way to determine that or think about that is to consider the values that you've created for yourself. Now, if you're unsure of what your values may be, I want to encourage you to head over to miguellebron.com. There, click on Core Values, and you'll be able to select from a list of about 50 values. I would encourage you to select about 3 to 4, no more than that. Think of it as a compass. A compass has north, east, south, and west. So you kind of want to think about it in that way with your values, because they're going to serve as a compass so that you can take better action and live the life that actually matters. And then not only that, as you're taking these actions, or as you're even thinking, considering on taking particular actions, you can ask yourself, does this action actually line up with my values? This is going to help you center those actions, those goals that you set. And then, of course, you can live the life you intend on living and create a legacy. I know there's still people coming into the room here on the Wisdom app. So I just want to sum up what we've spoken about here. We're talking about what to do when accomplishing your goal. Too often we play it small and we quote unquote play it safe. We don't tell anyone about our goals, and then we never tell anyone when we've accomplished them. And at the same time, what happens is that by playing small, by tiptoeing around, you also don't have anyone to celebrate with you, to lift you up when you're feeling down. That would be the idea of community. But then what happens on the other side is that when we finally do accomplish our goal, we also tiptoe across the finish line. We never actually finish louder. And that's what I would encourage you today. Finish louder. Cross the finish line. And when you hit the target, when you accomplish your goal, tell everybody. Put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, put it on Wisdom, put it on a t-shirt, like put it everywhere. Because you did that. You did that. Recognize and celebrate the things you've accomplished. Stop tiptoeing around. If today you understand you're doing that, I challenge you, don't tiptoe around scared that you might wake up the giants and dragons. Because the only way to actually obtain your treasure is to face the dragons and giants. And you may be asking yourself, Miguel, what is this about dragons and giants? Well, the dragons and giants are the challenges that come against your life, and they seem unbeatable. The dragons and giants are the challenges that come against you on your way to the treasure. What is the treasure? That possibility of who you could become, that life that you could live. I want to encourage you that if you haven't done so, please subscribe on the Strategy Rewind podcast, rate, review, tell a friend to tell a friend. Thank you so much for being connected here today. And remember, surround yourself with people that will nourish your vision.